did not expect that, eh?
When we met Koval, we asked, do you think you'd get us into GFB headquarters? He said, nah mate, probably not, eh? That was that. A few weeks later, Pete got a message. Are you still interested in that tour? Yep, we sure were. Pete and I have a real soft spot for these Stingers. We turned up in Vegas and checked into our hotel, and we could see the entire SEMA show. In the front car park was the Kia Stinger drift track. So as you do, we got on the cans and watched these Stingers send it from the comfort of our 35th floor.
When I first heard about the Stinger, I thought, I've got to drive one of these things to see what it's like. Going back to the auto salon days in the late 90s, early 2000s with Hyundai Excels. Yeah. I remember the old shopping trolley wing on the back of it, and they were just horrible. But the great thing about this car is, your expectation is about here, but the delivery is like there. This thing is just unbelievable. Yeah. So this is a 2018 model. This is the 3.3 litre twin turbo V6 rear wheel drive. America gets an all wheel drive as well. I don't think we get that here. Okay. But on paper, on paper it's great, and it is actually a terrific car. Yeah, nice. It feels like a Euro car. It's the fit, the finish, the materials, the way it drives. It is quite heavy. It's got a lot of options on there. Electric everything. I think it tips the scales at about 1,800 and something. So it's like a Commodore. But
I don't know. Is this like a safety camera or something?
So it's got the adaptive cruise control.
Oh, yeah, right.
Every feature you could possibly imagine. And
okay.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. We've had it out at Wakefield Park already. On the track, you can feel the weight of it. Yeah. It'll munch the brakes and the tyres pretty hard, but it goes. It's really quite impressive.
Beautiful. Can we have a little look under the bonnet? Mate, it's just back in the day, quality control, and now they've finally worked out. If you get the quality control right,
7-year warranty. Who's going to argue with that?
Yeah.
So
just a big piece of plastic, isn't it? They hide them these days.
That is, yeah. That's pretty much everyone. So yeah. No, great car. I'm really impressed, and a lot of potential as well. So
yep.
This is we're running a JB4 plug-in module on this thing just to play around with it, and so it's got another 4 pounds of boost over stock, and you can certainly feel it. Mm-hmm. It goes well.
Nice. Very nice. Have a little look at the interior as well.
Yeah. Okay. Here's something that says something about the car. John's actually started driving this thing over the GTR.
Really? Wow.
It's he loves his GTR.
Yeah.
But it's just a nice car to drive around.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of poke. It's comfortable. It's really good. Just a cruising GT kind of car.
I just think it's hilarious. It's like the car that we all refuse exists, eh? Like no one talks about them.
Yeah, exactly. But you can certainly see people trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of them on the road just yet. But
factory exhaust?
Yes, it has the optional bimodal exhaust, which I've disabled.
Oh yeah.
So it's on loud at the moment. But,
Yep. It's got a nice note to it from factory, eh?
it's not bad. 8-speed auto. Not a huge fan of autos, but you know.
Yeah. Has it got the like shift them on the? Yeah, it does. Yeah, you choose the shift. Yeah, yep. And you said you've taken it to Wakefield.
Yes, yeah, it had 800 kilometres on it when we took it down to
Wow.
Wakefield. And the interesting thing is the way it delivers its power. It just gets on with the job. You know, it's very torquey. Don't need a lot of revs. Just puts it down and goes. Of course, obviously the first thing we're going to do is a set of blow-off valves. That goes without saying. This little thing here, telltale LED that's hooked up to the solenoid that drives the blow-off valve. So they're a normal pneumatic diverter valve, but the vacuum line runs through a 3-port solenoid. So the ECU is still controlling it, and that little LED will tell you when the ECU is actually triggering it. So the interesting thing with the electronic valves is it tends to work off throttle closure rate. So if you roll off the throttle slowly, it won't activate the diverter valves because obviously it doesn't need to.
Okay.
On the Audis and the V-dubs, generally that's the only thing it looks at is just throttle closure rate. So even if you only come off just a little bit, as long as you lift off quickly enough, it will turn the diverter valve on. The Stinger seems to be using a throttle position as well as closure rate. So if you're only on the throttle a little bit and you lift off, it turns the diverter valves on only for a very short amount of time.
Nice.
Which seems to be a slightly more sophisticated method of using the diverter valve, so it's sort of less indiscriminate.
Yep.
So generally, which is not a bad thing, because if you're balancing the car with the throttle around a corner, for example, and you're sort of on and off the throttle a bit, you don't want the valves just dumping everything, because the power's going to be going up and down, and it won't be quite so linear. But
if you've come in a little bit hot and you just come off it a little bit,
you don't want to bog down big time. So you can see when I come off the throttle.
Yep.
And it turns off after about 2 seconds. But if you only lift off from light throttle, you just see it blink. So it's using how much throttle you applied before you lift off as an extra kind of variable.
Which you think would be like a line of code for them, wouldn't it?
Pretty much. I mean, it's obviously got access to all of the sensors on the engine. You can basically make it do whatever you want. But the one thing it can't do is open and close progressively. So because those valves are controlled by the solenoid, it switches between boost and vacuum, and the vacuum sucks them wide open. So as soon as that LED goes on, the valves are fully open.
There you go.
So it's like the DV Plus, we're using our response valves on here. We've sort of made a hybrid system where it's opening and closing progressively. So if there's not enough boost to blow the valve open, when the ECU triggers it, it won't open. So it makes the throttle response a bit more linear. You don't get that big step when the valves open. And of course, if you give it some and then lift off, they'll blow. There's lots of boost. It'll blow them open.
Cool. Yep. I'm learning. I like it.
Yeah. And then of course there's different sounds. Whistling trumpets.
Yeah. Boxing episode. My daughter watches them. It literally is. Welcome to Go Fast Bits. We're going to unbox some parts. So. Yeah. Boom. So what was the original part that the Rexy was stalling?
Yeah, that's it. Blow-off valve.
It was a blow-off valve.
That's where it. Yeah.
So this is where it all started.
That's
and this is
where
obviously what generation are we up to now on the blow-off valve?
The process has remained fairly unchanged since about 2002.
What are we unboxing now? What am I looking at?
50mm wastegates.
50mm. So what's the application for that?
Big turbo.
Big turbo. Yeah. So Skylines.
Yep. Yeah.
Turbo
RBs.
LS, RBs.
LS. Yeah. Barras. Supers. All those sort of cars would use something like that. But having said that, it's certainly seen them used on SRs and.
Yeah.
We actually stuck one on John's Evo with a stock turbo. Just for
see what happens.
Just for fun.
Let's find out what happens here.
It worked fine. This is Brett from Go Fast Bits. We're here at company headquarters in Sydney.
Mechanical issues. That's I like that. I'm keeping that in the video now.
We're just going to take you around and show you a few things about what we make and what we do here. And I'll tell you a little bit about the company history. So we're actually two companies here. The owner, John Adrian, he's been in CNC manufacturing and engineering for over 30 years now. He started his CNC manufacturing business, Accurate Repetition, way back in the 80s, I think it was. When the WRX first landed in Australia and gained notoriety for being the getaway car for ram raids, John bought his first WRX. It was a 97 model. He then started modifying it. He bought some parts for it, particularly a boost controller and a blow-off valve. And of course the first thing it did was stall. The thing that really kicked off Go Fast Bits and John's solution to the stalling was the dual port blow-off valve. Using half the air to recirc and half of it to atmosphere, he managed to get the blow-off sound without stalling the car. You know, now we're moving into the European side of things with products like our DV Plus, which is a replacement for the diverter valves that are known to fail fairly commonly, especially when the booster's turned up. This product has really taken off in a big way. And of course we also do external wastegates, boost controllers, fuel pressure regulators.
Not many people get to actually go back into this factory. I'm pretty excited. There's a couple of bits that we can't show, so you'll have to bear with us. We're going to cut through a few little bits of the secret squirrel business, but other than that I'm going to show you how it's all made. Let's go and check it out. All right. Yeah, it's good. So, but it is loud in here, and I'm not going to apologise for that. You're just going to have to deal with it because it's like a working machine shop. So we'll sneak through.
On this machine here, we're running the inner sleeves. That's the sleeve inside the response valve. This is how they come off the machine. That's again raw aluminium. You can't see a lot in there because there's coolant flying around. But yeah, what we were talking about with the anodizing before, that's the hard anodized finish. That's the reason you don't just use hard anodizing. It's more expensive. So on the outside of the product you don't need it, but it's also that colour. So that's the only, hard anodizing, it doesn't colour like regular anodizing does. So regular anodizing, you make it whatever colour you want, and it's always a really nice glossy finish, whereas hard anodizing is generally this sort of grey, slightly brown colour. So you wouldn't use it, you don't need to on the outside of the product, but on the inside where it's getting the piston running on it, that will last forever.
Yeah.
That finish.
So can we go reverse, Michael? You saw us to reverse.
Yep.
So this is the raw billet aluminium.
Yeah.
So you look at these poles.
Yep. Here's our.
So this is how you get them in.
That's it. Yeah. So
That's mad.
That comes out of there.
And then the drill.
That'll go into the bar feeding rack.
Yeah.
Into here, and it gets pushed into the machine. There's a little ram in here.
Yeah, and then they drop onto the little conveyor belt.
Yep.
That's mad.
Yeah,
very cool. It's happening right now. Very cool.
Making product.
Yeah.
Cool.
Perfect, man.
Alright.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy popcorn pop-off.
And everything's got a purpose, doesn't it? So how long would a bit like that last, you reckon?
Depends what you're cutting.
Yeah.
The softer the material, the longer it'll last.
Okay. Lucky for you guys, it's aluminium, I suppose.
That's it, yeah. Aluminium parts last a long time.
Look at these bits. Angry little guy, isn't he? Far out.
Yeah.
That's mad. Oh wow, what's that for?
Propellers that blows the coolant off it. These are abrasive brushes that deburr the surfaces.
Yeah. So the coolant's just water with additives in it?
Yeah, basically just it helps lubricate. I mean, there's quite a we spend a bit of time selecting the right coolant. You've got to make sure it doesn't tarnish the part afterwards. And it does help tool longevity and tool life as long as you keep the temperature down, and it helps lubricate as well.
Beautiful. So one of my favourite shows is that like how it's made, where it's sort of like all the bits getting manufactured. And I'm in the factory and we're checking out some of the parts that are sort of in the build.
Yeah, well here's a tray of parts as they come out of the machine. That's raw aluminium. They've got to go to the anodizers, which is only a couple of streets over. That's one of the parts that's been finished. Now the anodizing is not just decorative, it's there for a reason. Raw aluminium is very soft. You run a brass piston in a raw aluminium body, and after about 3 or 4 days it will have rubbed against each other, worn itself down to create a nice aluminium brass oil sludge. So the anodizing is basically aluminium oxide, very hard, very, very, very hard surface. So you can run a soft brass piston in an anodized bore, and it will run for years.
Yeah.
So
from there it's anodized, and then from anodized it goes to assembly.
yes, yeah. Then it all gets put together. So yeah, everything you see in the GFB products is all machined on these machines here in the factory.
In Sydney, in Australia.
In Sydney.
That's what we like. Yeah. And they're assembled here in this factory?
Assembled here, yeah.
Assembled here.
Yep.
It's mad.
Do it all here. Yeah.
That's mad. All right, let's keep looking.
All right.
That's mad.
I will just show you that one so that you don't see this guy here.
Righto. Yeah.
You want
What is going on there?
this is the code of the program that actually runs the machine.
Yeah.
So it's making bodies at the moment.
And it tells you what bit you've installed.
It's got the tool information. This is basically, that's the machine moving around, so these are all the coordinates. So this machine's slightly different. It's running on billets. So rather than a big long rod of material going through a bar feeder, we're actually putting chunks in there. So this machine doesn't have a bar feeder. It generally runs bigger bits of material that you can't run through a bar feeder.
And what are you making right now?
So this one's making DDX box. Let me pop that one away. So that ends up being that.
Nice. And can I film that bucket over there of the waste material over there?
Yeah, sure.
So from that to that leaves you with which I'm sure you get your money back on, because they just melt that straight back down and build another one, wouldn't they?
Yeah, we have scrap merchants that'll take all of our swarf and material. So yeah, there's quite a lot of that billet ends up being waste.
Now see, I reckon I could just sit here all day and just like watch it come out of the machine like some kind of... That's cool, eh? Yeah. Sick. Got it.
So this is a twin spindle machine. So you don't have to take the part out and turn it around to machine on both ends of the bar. Nice. So basically it'll transfer from one spindle to the other.
There it goes.
There you go. So it's just flipped over. Well, it's doing a tool change at the moment.
Oh yeah, wow, so you don't even need to retool it, it just
No, so it has
another bit.
a big tool carousel down the end of the machine, and all the tools are loaded in there.
That's mad.
So this is the second operation, so it will have machined all of one side of the body, and it's already transferred it over to the second side, so it can bring the entire part off complete.
That's mad. And so what is this, with that component, what is that out of?
This is one of the similar to the DB Plus, except it's kind of like a response and a DB Plus combined.
Okay.
So it's got the vent, the two venting outlets, but it's designed for the European applications.
Nice.
So it's got the little smaller version of the sleeve that fits in there with a little lever.
Again, hard anodised. And this would just be anodised.
Yes, this one's bright anodised black, and then the sleeve in there is hard anodised.
On this episode of GrassRoots Garage, we've got Glenn down here at GFB. Tell us about your job.
So I'm in charge of production here.
So you were just saying before how much you hate your boss and you hate your job. So tell us more about that.
Mate, he's an absolute beep, beep, beep. No, it's a good place to work.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So we make some good parts here. We've got some freedom to do what we like, make some nice bits, work with the guys here, and yeah.
Happy days.
So get some nice parts done, yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks for your time, man.
There we go.
Appreciate
Cheers.
it.
See,
Yeah.
I've made for that.
Made it.
Made the whole clip that, didn't it?
Talk me through it. What are you doing?
Just putting the valves into the wastegates.
Yeah.
Part of the assembly process for the 38s and 44s. Just about to put circlips in the diaphragms. Black clip just around there, so it's all squashed together, all securely. Then these get put on with a grub screw, so it's securely in place. Springs go on top, then the cap again, and then once that's on, test it, pressure test it, make sure it's all good. If within specs, and then it's good to go.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very nice. So,
Better than Glenn.
so if you've got one of these,
Yes.
it was assembled by you.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have a problem with your part, send an angry email to GFB. Yeah, very nice, man. If only he was here today to help us out. He even lays it in house.
So this is going back to what I was talking about before with sizing. These are all batch sized. Every piston gets matched to the body for the closest possible fit. So
That's awesome. And I'm assuming you've made that jig yourself as well, have you?
yeah. There's a lot of jigs for the laser engraving. Everything all fits in its place.
Yeah. Very cool. So if I was to purchase a GFB product, the aluminium's like raw, it goes through that machine just out there.
Yep.
Gets anodized down the road, gets brought back here and assembled.
Yep.
Stored here, and then
shelf.
shipped to me.
Yes. Yeah, that's the whole
Employed by locals.
process. Yep.
Everything's happening in Australia.
Yeah.
It's all happening.
That's it.
Yeah.
We control everything that happens to our products right here in the building. So
That's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jobs in Australia. Everyone's working hard. We love it.
yeah, look, it's hard to compete in manufacturing in Australia, and there is no doubt that you can get good quality stuff made overseas. The problem is you've got to spend so much time inspecting it because you can get good and bad parts from overseas. So you could ship it offshore, get the parts in here. You'd have to spend as long checking every single one to make sure that you've got a quality part. We much rather do it here ourselves.
Yeah, 100%.
We've got the equipment.
Yeah.
Interesting one. That was a DB Plus that we made for KTM for their crossbow. It's actually in their catalogue as an optional update for the crossbow because it uses the 2-litre turbo from the Golf GTI. Now, going back to what we were saying before about the knockoffs, that's an example of one. And it's one of those things you get what you pay for. So, looks alright, sure. Looks the same.
It's black.
It's black. It's roughly the same shape, but we look at this is we don't know what kind of rubber that is. Not very well bonded to the piston. It's already started peeling off. The fit.
Yes.
That might have been made in one factory, that might have been made in the other, or they probably don't know what each part does, but that is just not going to work.
So the most valuable member of your team is Ben. It's Ben, isn't it, out there?
Ben, yeah.
Ben, you know what I mean? Because he's someone, whoever put that together is getting paid $1 a day and doesn't care.
Pretty much.
Do you know what I mean? Doesn't care.
Exactly. Well, we've got a whole crew down there, so they're all really good at when you put these things together, you just get a feel for it, and you can almost tell the fit of a piston in a bore just as you assemble it, and they're constantly looking out for any slight imperfections in the anodizing. It's only cosmetic, but you don't want to pull the box apart and open it up and go, oh, there's a big dent there. So even down to the handling. I mean, you look at this thing. We can tell whether it's our part just by looking at it, even with photos. Just because you have a CNC machine doesn't mean you know how to machine metal. So you can see that there's chamfers missing, there's dents on it. They've hand deburred some of this stuff. It's just not nice. It looks like it's been through a rumbler. There's dents all over it. Yeah. It's just, you might get lucky. You might buy one that just so happened that the piston and the bore fit together, and it might work. But then you might get something like this that's not going to work. That'll fall off. That's why we like to keep everything in house, because we can keep an eye on it. We can measure it. We can make any changes that we need to if anything ever came up. We can deal with the whole situation from start to finish.
Well, that wraps up this episode with GFB and the Stinger. Don't forget to smash that YouTube subscribe button.